They are different ones. So you would realistically, for the monitors to be their best, would realistically have to have a equalizer on each channel of the monitor amp, because when you EQ these would not be correct for the others. EQ the others would not be correct for these. So you need two equalizers just to get these monitors correct. Up above, you have the same issue. If these are your mains, you would need a different equalizer for that versus these. This does not near EQ the same as that. They're totally different things. Then they are fairly close in time alignment as far as when the sound hits you, except I know one is higher this way, but it would be best if you had speakers halfway back. What you do, you don't have to drive it near as loud from the front, and you time align with an industrial line delay. You can set the distance where the sound hits you at the same time. Mm-hmm. When it travels from the front, you then catch the back speakers. They're delayed, waiting for that sound to come from the front, and picks up at the same time and continues on back. That way you don't hear it twice. If not, you would hear the speaker right there, and then when this arrives, you would hear it. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't have to be as loud in front, and you would have better coverage in back if you had speakers halfway back. But I don't know as far as EQs of how they're set up, as far as which EQs are doing what, but you need two EQs since you're doing two different things here. You need two EQs for these. You know, if you ain't got at least four EQs, I thought I seen three EQs back there, so I don't know which ones are wrong. That's about it.
Okay.
But
what kind of concerns do you see with lighting? Any?
Not really. As far as the draw, it don't look like you're drawing too much for the packs. I don't know what is on the other channel, the dimmer coming up here. Is there a spotlight up in there? Okay,
well,
there is. There's something up there.
Yeah.
That's probably hooked to that other channel of this dimmer pack.
Yeah.
This here is using all four channels. You got the little spot on the end there, but you're not overloading the packs really. That's not. I don't know why that kicked off. Could have been a surge. Could have been starving for power. I don't really see the issue on that. The speaker wires, you know, I think they're probably going to turn out to be hooked up backwards on the amps, but until I get up there and actually look at the connections, I can tell you for sure.
Have you ever seen a projector so close to a speaker, and do you think that could cause any disturbance in the video?
I doubt that it would, to be honest with you. Yes, I've seen them fairly close. That's a little closer than normal, but I don't think that it's going to really inject anything. Why, is the picture bad or anything on it?
We've had issues in the past, but it's mainly because the projector, our last projector went kaput. So
okay.
I was just curious. There was times when we would see lines scroll by, and we figured that out was a piece of device. It's actually another component in the back was causing that issue.
Yeah, you could generate a problem back there easier than you could from this. Now, you could lower that down another 6 inches and make everything better. You know, you get it further away from the speaker, but see, the magnet of that speaker is really not right against the back of that cabinet, so it's closer to the front.
Okay.
I don't think that that's really going to cause you a problem.
Okay.
The alignment issues are just a little bit out here. It's not real bad. I don't think this was all installed at the same time.
Right.
There's a little better way of doing it as far as putting speakers halfway back and put them on a line delay would make the whole system better, and you could actually even do away with the one up high if you've done this.
Okay.
Because you could aim these just to cover, all you want to do is make these cover half the room. You would have another just back here.
Yeah.
This set would cover here, so you would change the alignment just a little bit on them. And that way it wouldn't have to be as loud here. See, back here, you're having to throw that back to here, and so it will be a lot louder in the front than it would be back here. And the speakers can only cover so much area, and it's better to distribute the sound out at the same volume than it would be loud up front, harder to hear in back.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
general-
been a complaint over the years, if it's just too loud in here.
Yeah, well, they're trying to get that to throw back to here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had more control, like the speakers was right here, they wouldn't have to be near as loud as what you have to get from there to here.
Right.
And then your distance, you don't want to try to throw too far. If you could just have those concentrate, this one here would be concentrating to right up here. It's not worried about back there, because the speakers up here would then be here, and then the engineer could also hear things a lot better without having it as loud.
Yeah.
Too. As far as the sound booth, it looks like that it's not too bad a location. At least it's down on the ground. Some people get them up there, which is the wrong idea totally. That's not too bad. The closer to the floor, closer to the middle, the better. I mean, if this board was even over to here, would even be better.
Okay.
Because when you get toward a wall, everything changes. You need to be, it's called power alley. When you go to set up a temporary sound system like at a concert, we will set up right in the middle.
Seen that?
And what we do as far as the distance, how far back, we measure from the speakers on each side. If it's 50 feet, we set up 100 feet back right in the center. That's the correct measurements to use. So this is not really bad as far as side to side versus back to here. That's okay. But I would try to get the sound guy over to the end if you have enough cable and everything.
Yeah.
If you could scoot him over.
Yeah. At least train them to stand here when they're trying to sample the sound.
But it's hard really to go back and make those tunings. It'd be
If you're not-
better if you could move,
Okay.
get him toward the middle where he belongs. It would be a lot better way. I don't know if your cables is long enough,
Sure.
but it might be. You might be able to add on to them, might be able to pull a little more, but if possible, the sound guy mixing the engineer, it needs to be as close to the center as possible. I don't know his height now. I don't know when he's sitting there how his height is about hearing also. I mean, the engineer needs to hear very well what's going on out here.
Okay.
Now, he would be better off if this was moved over and he was right here.
Okay.
Getting as low as possible, and even if this was opened up, it wouldn't have to be if you have a chair and you're up here good enough to get over. I just want to make sure it wouldn't be blocked by anything. It's not too bad, but I would try to get further to the end,
Okay.
if possible.
Sure.
As far as your EQs there, the Ashley is 20 times as good as the DoD products. The Ashley is actually a decent unit. I don't really like the DoD stuff, but the Ashleys are good units. I don't know which one is wrong. I don't know. Oh, what's this say here? Let's see. Front of house center, front of house left and right, monitors. Okay, so you have one EQ trying to set two totally different set of monitors. It's probably not right for either one, because if you're trying to set them all, which one are you're not going to get either set right.
Yeah.
So what you do, by not having either set correctly, you get feedback easier, a lot easier.
We do get a lot of feedback.
You shouldn't get any feedback.
Okay.
This is because this is not correct.
Okay.
You're trying to do two things with one equalizer. Impossible.
Okay.
These equalizers if I brought an analyzer, an RTA, I mean, you have a cheap model of an analyzer down here. That's an RTA, real-time analyzer. I mean, it will work. It don't work as good as an expensive one, but it will get you in the right area. But you can't set both sets of monitors with one equalizer because they're going to be totally different. If we put one of these on your set of PVs, one of these on the set of Yamahas, analyze them separate, they're going to look totally different. They both will be a lot better. The feedback will go way down, okay? Now, this here is a lot better unit, which since you only have one, you would obviously want to use it on the house, but you can't equalize those at the same time you're doing the top one. It takes different settings. They're totally different cabinets. Now, but what you can do, you can, if you had 4 of the same cabinets, like if we added 2 more of the EVs back here, you could EQ it before it goes into the line delay, and then the line delay would take care of it from there, because you're setting it for the same type of speakers.
Sure.
So that would do that. It's really about the worst of it, I think, there.
Okay.
As far as what needs to be done to make things better. You might not even need the center speaker if you had the other ones set differently for a different area. You're trying to cover the whole room.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah, there's a better way of doing it. That's
sure.
That's all.
Yep.
There's a better way of doing it.
Well, we're interested, so look to see what kind of proposal you can get us.
Okay. Okay.
It hasn't. Yeah,
Okay.
you're fine. Good.
I see that you have some items that's not hooked up here. I see you have the feedback exterminator. Those are good and bad. Once feedbacks happens, you have to reset the filters on them, and if you don't do that, then you're maybe missing too much. So if you get the monitor set and the house set correctly, you probably won't even need the feedback exterminator, even though it's not turned on right now, and it should be if it was being used, because it would be in line with one of the equalizers. I'm not sure which one it is hooked to or anything, but and then you have a BBE, which is an enhancer, which this is not the model that I prefer. They do help. You never want to put one on monitors. You would only use it on mains. And what it does, it's not real useful for you guys, because it usually, most people use them to enhance the bass. Well, you don't have really speakers that's really designed for bass. Okay. So I don't see the real need for it here. There is one item that does help a lot. It's called a Dominator 2. It is a compressor / dead stop limiter. That helps if something happens where it goes wide open, it tries to stop it from getting any louder, okay? And then the compressor helps put more sound within the same amount of level, basically. Some of these boards, yeah, this one has compressors built into it. I don't think you're using them, but compressors, if you don't have them set right, can hurt you more than help you. You really have to know what you're doing on setting compressors. I don't know if any of these are actually being used, but I'm not saying to definitely use them. It's according to what you're doing. You guys don't get that loud, do you?
No.
Okay. Probably not even worth messing with there, because like I said, they can hurt you if you're adjusted wrong. And moving this over would be an idea. If you're changing stuff around, the idea would be remove the items that you're not going to use, have everything wired in the correct path, have the polarity right on everything. All your lines would need to be checked to make sure that they're correct as far as their polarity. Your speaker lines is definitely in question to me. If the same guy connected those amps, connected those speakers, it better be, or your speakers, instead of pushing out like they should, they're sucking inward. They will bottom out. It can only go so far in before they hit, and you can damage your speakers really bad. The voice coils can get beat up by pulling inward instead of outward. So you have, numerous issues that can be fixed. The acoustic of the room, I don't see any major problem there. I'm not saying you need to fill it with acoustic panels or nothing, because I've been able to get good sound out of a room like this without doing any kind of acoustic treatments. Now it is the speakers, you do need to actually probably do something on that if you want it to, be its best.
Sure.
It'll work like it is, but there is ways to get it better.
Okay.
The wireless mics here.
That unit right here, we have a guest church family that uses the built facilities in the evening.
Okay.
They wanted to add 4 more mics, and so I just ran it to an extra channel.
Okay. I totally do not like these products at all. They're like just a cheap way of getting mics, but a lot of times they have fade in and out, interference, and they don't really sound good. These are a lot better units than these here. All right.
We've always had issues with these guys just stopping midway,
Really?
but we don't know if it was the guest church family not turning them off, and there was just I think we were having issues with the batteries being cycled improperly.
Are you also using rechargeables?
No,
Oh.
so just use these.
Okay. Those are great batteries.
Yeah.
That's actually the ones that I would recommend using. These units are not high-end units. These are, they're Chinese. They're PG series. They're just not higher-end stuff. They're
Sure.
just kind of toward the middle, lower middle.
Okay. And the vintage is fairly old too.
Yeah. They still sell some similar to this. It's different frequencies and stuff. There is worse stuff out there, but I don't know because of their age of how good they're in or shape they're actually in or anything. But there is worse. There is worse. I mean,
Right.
these are better, way better than the quality of this, by the
Okay.
way. I'm trying to figure out what you got going on there with this turnaround. Okay, it looks like, I guess instead of putting the correct connector on the wire, they've put what they call a turnaround in there to where
Convert
it. But you do have to watch when you do that, because if you don't turn it around again on the other end, you get your wires wrong.
Yep.
You can't turn one end around, not turn the other.
Gotcha. And we still don't know where that dimmer pack or that thing goes to.
No, you do have analog dimmers somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, it could even be made into these boxes by your lights. It's possible, but I didn't see them when I was up there. So you might have somewhere else that there's some analog dimmers. The analog dimmers are the older dimmers. They do not sell analog dimmers any longer. I got lots of analog dimmers for sale if you ever need to buy any. But I don't really see what the deal is on that. It's not really being overloaded.
Could have been a power surge maybe if done it.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been a power surge, or it could have starved for power. If you
Right.
starve a dimmer for power, it will kick out the breakers. I have had that happen before.
Okay.
So you don't know. I mean, it's either the power coming in or the load that you're trying to put
Yeah.
on it is usually the issue there, you know. So the load don't look bad, so it could have been at the time. Maybe everything was turned up. Maybe, I don't know, heaters, you know, I don't know. Maybe everything was going at the same time and possibly sucked your voltage down enough to where it done that. Just keep an eye on it.
Sure.
I do have replacement packs that will literally plug and play right there, you
Okay.
know, without any modification.
Okay.
I'll just unplug that, and like the ones that I have, the larger ones, the 6000s. The 6000s are a lot better, heavier built units over the 5000s. They're a lot different. They have heat sinks and stuff on them.
Okay.
They're a more, way more durable, quite a bit different pack. I do have plenty of them in mint condition for sale. I think I got 8 or something like that.
Okay.
They look like brand new. I mean, they're not even scratched or anything. I have rack mount dimmers also, but it's a lot of trouble running all your power wires from your lights all the way back to a rack.
Right.
You know, to use rack mount dimmers. But they're just kind of handy because you don't have any dimmers in the air. You also want to make sure that the dimmers, somebody wipes them off once in a while, keep the dust off of them because they
Okay.
don't have no cooling
Okay.
really to them. So you don't want to let them get an inch of dirt. I mean,
Sure.
I've seen them really dirty, and it's because they was smothered by the dirt. It didn't look, you know, bad when I looked up there, but just remember that the dimmers has to breathe. The rack dimmers will usually have fans in them.
Okay.
But you can get a lot of dust up high because people don't normally get up there to dust. So anytime I see a
Right.
dimmer laying up there, I always try to look at it and see if it's just too much dirt on it.
Sure. Now, given that we had 3 amplifiers in the back and one they thought was an issue, but again, the one feedback from the store was they supposedly tested the amp and it's working. They just thought being in bridge mode may have overloaded it. What would
Okay.
be your recommendations for amplifiers for this
Okay.
setup?
First thing, if it was in bridge mode, you cannot load. If they had all 4 of those monitors on there by any small chance, that would be way too much load for the bridge mode. It'd be twice of what you're trying to load one down at. Actually, be exactly twice of what that could stand. And what will happen is, if you have it in bridge mode and you put 4 monitors on in bridge mode means it has 1 channel instead of 2.
Okay.
Okay. It bridges them together, but you can't put a big load on bridge mode. See, and what happened is it will overheat, and it will cut off being thermal overload.
Yeah.
Okay, and that may be what happened. Thermal overload. They might have had all 4 monitors on there, and it had it bridged, and because they was using 1 EQ or something, and that will make it appear that the amp's bad because it was getting hot and cutting off.
Yeah.
Okay, now the amplifiers that you have, I personally do not like. I mean, you have a Crown and you have a Behringer back there. Okay, the Crown that you have is the lowest line Crown. Crown amplifiers is made in Elkhart, Indiana, and except the lowest lines are most of them made in Korea or China, one or the other. They're imported. Crown is a good quality amp in general, except they have 10 different lines, and what you have is, I think, the lowest of the line. Now, I am a firm believer in Crown amps. They're great amplifiers, but just not that model, not
Sure.
that line.
Right.
And the other one I don't like at all. They're imported, and I don't recommend those at all. Now, your best amps are Crown and Crest is the 2 best. I have excellent luck out of Crown amps. I personally use all Crown amps for all of my stuff. we could replace,
I'd be interested to know what it would take to set it up right.
well, that's what I'm
Because
getting at.
I've heard of, we've went through 10 years of just scooting by.
Okay, I can redesign this for you and sell and install and give you a warranty with everything I sell you, new or used, because I collect high quality equipment. I take trade-ins from churches and stuff too, and I'm real selective because I know that I'm going to have to warranty it. So,
Sure.
and I don't like to drive far away just because I sold something that's not of real good quality. So I'm real picky, but after doing it 26 years, you get that way. And I had a lot of experience in church sound systems. I know what they're after, and clarity, intelligibility, and coverage is all where it's at. It's not in how low the bass speakers can go or nothing like that. It's I go in a club and that's all they're interested in. They care less about the other. But the churches are just the opposite. You need to be able to hear. Everybody in here can hear if the system is set up properly. So, and it will be clear, quiet and clear. It's a ticket in a church. Yes, it would be no problem of making the system great. The mixing board is not the mixing board of choice, but it will work for you. It will get you by. If you ask me where could you save money with what you have, I'd tell you could save money by the mixing board. Does it have any issues you know of?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I'd say you could get by with saving your mixing board, saving your EQ there. Would probably do away with those units. We'd have to do something about the speakers. We're going to you had to go one direction or another. Now, as far as the monitors, you could keep the monitors and we can just put them on 2 different channels and reset those. And you could use this little cheap EQ if you really wanted to for those 2 monitor channels. I mean, if it works, fine. Because once it's set now with an analyzer, what we do, we put a security cover over the EQs.
Good point, because that's already been bumped before.
Once you set it with an analyzer, you cannot move it at all. If you bump it, it's all gone. Every one. If you move one of these, it changes the ones next to it totally. So it's just like you bump one, you basically bump 3, kind of the way it works out. Especially on lower line equalizers, because they're not near as fine-tuned as high-quality equalizers. High-quality equalizers, like Clark Technic and stuff like that, it does exactly the frequency that it's talking about versus, lower line stuff. You move one and it's kind of moving both sides a little bit. They're not near as precision is what I'm getting at. But, if you wanted to use that equalizer on the monitors, yes, you could save some money and go ahead and use it. Set it with an RTA, real-time analyzer, and then cover it up with a security cover. Tell people, do not remove, do not, it's been set with an analyzer. An analyzer is way better than me, you, or anybody.
Sure.
It don't care what you hear, what I hear, what anybody hears. It's a measurement device that is correct.
It's tuned.
It is made for that purpose, and that's what it does, and they do a good job. Just because I hear things different than you, it don't really care who hears them. It does it correct, and that's what you got to do. You can't set it for you, and I can't set it for me, because who knows who's right,
Sure.
So I just use an analyzer, and I find it does a great job. Your feedback drastically drops. I mean, you just about go to no feedback once the system's set. The monitor's the same way, the main's the same way. Now here, if we're using this equalizer for your 2 monitor channels, then we would set each one separate for that, and all your monitors, since it would have the EQ on each set of monitors, it would be correct, so your feedback would drop a lot. But if you're trying to use one of these to set them all, you're actually making one of them worse. Yeah, because what are you adjusting it to? You're not to take different settings, all the way different. Those, if you set both of them with an analyzer and you look at those EQs, they're going to look so much different. They're totally going to be all the way different because those monitors are so much different than what they are. But yes, you can use your monitors. Not trying to sell you that because I don't, you know, you can do that, but you're going to have to use obviously both channels. You know, sure, if I sold you 4 matching monitors, which I have 4 nice matching monitors, you could use one EQ then to set the monitors, because they would all require the same setting, because I could sell you 4 matched monitors. If we do go with speakers halfway back,
I've been here 20 years. And as you see, that's just been added to, so I think it's a good idea to add the speakers as you're suggesting.
That is the proper way, because it don't have to be as loud.
That's right.
And the speakers have a pattern. It's hard to cover that corner up in the middle up there on the end and back here both.
Yeah.
Which one are you doing with that? I don't. It's not doing either one well.
Right.
It's not aimed at, you can't aim at both. I mean, it's got a you know, dispersion pattern, and you can't do both. And are you throwing for there, or are you throwing for here? That's a lot of difference. You can't do both. So anyway, if you put the speakers basically halfway back, they must be on a industrial line delay.
Yeah.
The sound must hit you at the same time. If not, you hear, hey, 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 hey.
Yeah.
Well, intelligibility, because it starts, you know, when a person talks, they keep talking. They don't just say hey and stop.
Yeah.
So the more they talk, the worse it gets, because
Right.
this guy's going to catch up with you. You hear this one right away, and then this guy's going to catch up, and you're going to hear it
Yeah,
again.
half an hour of someone speaking will drive you nuts.
Yes. Well, you know, it's called intelligibility. It goes way down. I mean, it's bad enough that the dispersion, and then, you know, I mean, you have to align this stuff. You know, you have to, it's got to be guided, aligned, and EQ. That's the trick to making it sound good.
Yeah.
Basically it.
Sure.
So if you want me to, I can write you up something here in just a day or two,
Sure.
and give you an idea of exactly what would fix you up.
Sounds good.
Do these wires long enough to scoot this over to there? Would that be a possibility?
I'll have to check. We pretty much got our hands slapped because it was pretty messy from the fire marshal. So they recently have tried to tidy things up down there. I'll have to just double check.
Well, it looks like it might have possibly enough. There might be, I mean, this is probably one snake cable coming back to here. I hope they didn't run all individual lines all the way back to here.
I remember seeing very large cables.
Okay. If that's so, you might be able to adjust it around. But if you could get this to the end here, would be helpful.
Yeah. My personal housekeeping desire is to not use this space as storage.
Oh yeah, yeah. No. You need to clean up. All this needs to. You need to clutter free a lot of this area. There should only be stuff that is needed for
At the moment.
right here in the way, because you don't have a lot of room to begin with. You might even do away with this entire cabinet because of the size versus when you get down here to the end, it might be a little much. I mean, once you.
Is it possible that the EQs could go in here and that's where we could put plexi over the front?
Everything can go in there. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to plexi the front, you could say with if you're locking plexi, which they do sell, and I do have, I think some locking plexi covers that would, with that far back, it might not open. But anyway, it don't matter. Everything you need, yes, can go in there.
Yeah.
And there's nothing he needs to do, he needs to just worry about this. He can't change. Once we set this with an analyzer, do not touch. Okay, that's, I mean, I always put security covers over the stuff. I mean, it can be a plexi one over all of them. It can be individual.
Right.
The screen ones, just so we get the point across, don't reach down. If it, just say a mic's squilling, you don't do this to fix it. You do
Right.
it on the channel.
Yeah.
This is something that's set and left alone. Everything else is controlled right here on the channel, per channel. Okay, there's nothing you do down here. Just don't, you don't come in here every time it squills. You mess with this,
Right.
which is what people do when they have them that handy and open up like that. See, or they bump them
Yeah.
and don't even realize, and they can send it right into feedback just when they bump it.
Yeah.
So that needs to be fixed. Like I said, I would probably do away with that. I'd probably have something that's not quite this
Bulky,
this deep and everything. Try to free up the clutter. You know, you probably take this power strip off of there if you move this down. I mean, I can assist you in any of it that you. I mean, you guys can do all the work that you guys can do to save money. I can do all the technical stuff, and
Sure.
you know, anything that I think that you guys could do, I can offer you to do that.
Okay.
To save you money. Well, and here's one thing that I'm going to tell you that what might be a little costly for me that you guys could do to save you some money is if we put the rear speakers, they need wires run to the amplifiers from those two speakers.
Yep.
Okay. Now, instead of me trying to sell you all that labor, which if I showed you point A and point B,
That's right.
if you guys want to run those to save you money, I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would imagine your crawl space crawling days are coming to an end.
I'm getting too fat and too old both. Yeah.
I've made that run from here all the way down to there, and it is quite claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Like I said, I can show you point A and point B, and I can even sell you the wire or whatever. You guys want to put it in, that is fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell
Sure.
any extra labor. You know, I try to actually see if the church wants to do any of the kind of
The
untechnical
grunt
labor.
work.
You know,
We're happy to do the grunt work.
Yes. That I mean, if not, you know, I could spend all his hours or something, and it ties up money that you guys could.
We'd rather hire your brain.
Exactly. That's actually what I got for sale. I'm getting this bad, but no, I know my church stuff really good, and I've done so many installs, and I do concerts, major concerts. You know, this is what I do is audio. I'm not even a lighting guru. I mean, I do you know, lighting like this, but I mean, I have every kind of lighting thing there is, but I'm not a specialist in lighting, but I do know that you have to have your load, you can't overload a dimmer pack, and you can't starve them for power.
Right.
And I do understand there's different languages, and I do understand that you have dimmers here somewhere that's analog that is being converted by your signal here. These little light boards, they're actually decent little light boards. They work for a long time. They sold a ton of them. NSI originally was Nova Systems, and then they changed their name to NSI. And they sold a lot of dimmers, and most of them was bought, believe it or not, at the same place in Indianapolis called IRC Audio. They was a big NSI dealer. They sold tons of them to churches. That's why I kind of thought maybe they was involved possibly in the install, but maybe not. But they're out of business now. They was doing fine till they moved into a big fancy building, and they just sent them under. I mean, they operated out of like a warehouse, and they was doing great. They moved into this big fancy multi-floor fancy building, and it just was just too much cost, I guess. You know, so they ended up folding. But I have done a lot of systems, repaired a lot of systems that they installed, and changed a lot of speakers around they installed. Throughout the years, they had different people working there, and they had different ideas, and some of them wasn't the best ideas. As far as speakers, like I said, this one EQ is totally different than
Right.
the ones on the side. Now, what could be done is, the four-speaker thing is a great idea, and we could either add 2 more like that or switch totally. It's a borderline thing. Since you're only trying to cover a half the area with those, we could just add 2 more of those. They're not my choice. Those are electric voice EVs. They are made in USA. They're 12-inch and a horn. And for vocals, that's really all you have to have is 12 and a horn. This one up in the middle looks like it's probably a 15 and a horn. You probably wouldn't use that at all because it's going to mess the EQing all up and everything. Right. I don't think you would really need that at all with the others. So you could either leave it up there or you could take it down. Obviously, to take it down, it's a little heavy, and you'd have to set up scaffolding or something to safely probably get that down.
Right.
The speakers, you do have a good place to mount speakers. I know churches in general are always worried about the looks of everything, but
get used to it over time.
You get used to
it.
30 days into it and it's all forgotten.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people notice it right away. The speakers where they're mounted at on the front there. Okay, there's a good and bad out of that. They are a little bit higher in the air than I prefer. Now, people's obviously mounted them upside down. Okay, the reason they do that is to put the horn so it can cover better. Now, if they would have put the cabinet lower, they could have flipped it over the right way, and it might have been. Sometimes you after you install them, you turn them over if they don't sound good, because those speakers, the mounting bracket is usually the same top and bottom, so you can flip them one way to the other without changing the bracket. Now, those are just a little high, but they're not too bad. If they would have put them in the middle, might have been a little bit better, but it's not real bad. You wouldn't want them all the way against the lights. You would want them maybe in the middle. The further you get away from it, the more it's got to throw and all of that. But it's not real bad. You could leave those at that location. But as far as being on front of the stage, that's correct. You couldn't put them on the back wall because you would increase your feedback of driving the mains into the mics. You wouldn't want them any further back here because then you would miss the coverage of the front. As far as their location is fairly correct. The back ones would have to go to this second second one
where the lights
there.
out.
Yes, right there. And again, see, if you look from here, you'd say, well, why would you take them all the way to the top? Basically, is basically how they have those. But you wouldn't want them all the way to the bottom. So the middle, even if you went up high, because it's not that high. It's not, you don't have real high walls. So it's not. I've seen way worse, but a little bit lower would have been my preference, to be in the middle, basically. That's really about it.
Okay. I appreciate your time. Charlie, I forget your last name.
Richardson.
Thanks, sir.